we had a lot in common. You know, he was a good amateur, I was a good amateur. He was a good pro, I was a good pro. I'd like to think I was. He taught me from 6, 7 years old. See them things you got on, see them things at the bottom of your legs, they're your feet, yeah? Use your feet. Let me tell you something, look at my face, I ain't even got a flat nose. Do you know what I mean? Like, I use my feet.
So what are you trying to say?
No, but, you know, boxing become, 1970s was great, 1980s was great, become weaker in the 90s, become even weaker in the 2000s. I texted a couple of people because I hated the world. I didn't care what anyone, you know, you hate the world, you know what it's like.
Yeah.
And I turned around and said, listen, I said, why are you doing that Mayweather stuff, blah, blah. He said, don't worry about that, I've got loads in the locker. Lloyd had, well, long after he'd won the world titles, and he said, I always remember I come out in that round when I was fighting Don Curry. Yeah. And he goes, I threw the right hand underneath and the left hook over the top. And he goes, I always remember Steve telling me to do that. You're talking about charlatans and cowboys, whatever you want to call them, yeah, that steam straight into it. The reason why they steam straight into it, because they've got no knowledge whatsoever. I text Tyson 2 months before the what's it called fight, USYK fight, and I said, listen, I don't think you should take it, that fight. Boom, 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 and I told him what I thought. Right? And then we get the Joshua fight. But I just don't think... Look, it's written in the stars, isn't it? We always find it in boxing. You know how it works with Mayweather and Pacquiao and all that. It's always written in the stars. So he's going to spoil the party, isn't he? Dubois, on the 21st.
Well, you heard it here first. This is Ben Doughty for Sugar, Silk and Stretch with the inimitable Peter McDonagh at the legendary Fisher Downside ABC. How's it going, Peter?
Yeah, all good, mate. Good to see you in my front room now.
Well, yeah, it could be said that you've come full circle. That's a phrase you're fond of using regarding your career having started in this hallowed building.
Yeah, I started here when I was 6 years old, and funny enough, just over a year ago now, I come back when we lost the legendary Steve Weiser. What can I say? To try and fill his shoes, you know, I'll never fill his shoes, but to, you know, do his shoelaces up, that would be good enough for me. You know, the champions that have come through his club, the history, 1908, the club started. What a place to have taken over, you know, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think talking to you recently on the phone, it feels like you finally found a sense of mission and a sense of belonging. Since you retired as an active fighter, it was like you couldn't quite settle in the game. You were being a trainer, maybe being a consultant, and this seems to have really reignited your passion and give you a sense of mission. Yeah,
most definitely. I mean, what can I say? Firstly, you know, after the brain tumour, been told I can never fight again. I mean, fighters retire sometimes on the back of, you know, losses and bits and pieces, but I was on, you know, a 12 winning streak. You know, my career was going from strength to strength. It's crazy at my age. As soon as I got the brain tumour and I had to retire, I think I went into a terrible state of depression. It was really hard, but I don't like to use the word mental health because, you know, I think we all suffer with depression. You know, it's part of life. And yeah, just finding something what I wanted to do. And like I say, even down to Steve Weiser's last 5 days on his deathbed, I've never ever said I'm going to go back to the Fisher and take over the Fisher, which I think would have put a massive smile on his face, being, you know, a brick in the wall, really. You know, starting here at 6 years old. I've been here just over 40 years now, like I say, gone full circle. But like I say, I had no ambition of coming back to it. I'm on my second book now, which I'm talking about training with the spirit, because I believe that his spirit brought me back here, because I never had no intentions of that. And as I've just said that, I felt like goosebumps and that down my back. It's crazy, and this is home. This is my home. This helps me. You know, I volunteer. I do it voluntarily, but it's good for my mental health, and that's the most important thing.
You often talk about the fact that there's a lack of teachers and real teaching boxing gurus in the amateur game and the pro game today. Steve Weiser was one of the men. I mean, I never had the pleasure of actually meeting him that I'm aware of. I never actually saw him at work, but you tell me he was a master and a genuine teacher. Are we getting a lot of more charlatans coming into the coaching aspect, of, certainly in the pro game today, but maybe in the amateurs as well? I'll
give you a prime example. We get the likes of Gordon Ramsay, Jamie Oliver, you know, them sort of chefs. I'm not going to be sexist here because there's women chefs as well, but I can't think of no names.
Nigella Lawson?
Yeah, I didn't think of her. Nigella Lawson. You get these sort of chefs, like I say, they do things from scratch. Problem is today, people turn professional, they leave their amateur club, guess what? They're a ready-made meal. All we've got to do is put them in the microwave. Yeah, ping, 5 minutes, they're done. All they do is get these fighters fit. They've had their grounding from the amateur coaches. There's much better amateur coaches within the game.
It's funny you should say that, you know, because Michael Alalshikh, who obviously is a part of this channel, he says you'll get guys talking about this hallowed pro style, and immediately they try to convince the amateur, who's a hot property perhaps, that is the man who's made him a commodity, cannot take him any further in the pro game because of all these differences. And he says it's just a bullshit con designed to get the fighter away from the trainer who made him.
Do you know what? Me and Steve Heiser had a lot in common. I'm going a bit off the subject here, but I'm on the same sort of subject still. But we had a lot in common. You know, he was a good amateur. I was a good amateur. He was a good pro. I was a good pro. I'd like to think I was. You know, and like I say, you know, as a coach, what happens is these people go, yeah, you've got to get that pro style. Let me tell you something. He taught me from 6, 7 years old. See them things you've got, see them things at the bottom of your legs. They're your feet. Yeah. Use your feet. Your feet get you into trouble. Your feet get you out of trouble. Let me tell you something. I had 58 pro fights. Don't know how many amateur fights I had. Right. Let's forget all that. I sparred all around the world, sparred with everyone, all the best, right? Going there a week's notice, 2 weeks' notice, 3 weeks' notice. Let me tell you something, look at my face, I ain't even got a flat nose. Do you know what I mean? Like, I used my feet.
So what are you trying to say?
No, but, you know, and I always stuck by that. And funny thing, someone texted me the other day, funny enough, my Albanian fighter, which is he's out at the moment in Albania in the Albanian Championships. He's got the European Games. Yeah. Good fighter, Radis. And he said, Coach, look what I've just found. Andre Ward, teaching a fighter. Guess what? If you don't use them, I can use them.
That's what he said. And because so many coaches talk about using your feet less and standing your ground and sitting down on your shots. But he said, you can slip into a punch and make a mistake. And to illustrate it, they showed a clip of him trying to slip a shot from Kovalev and getting knocked over. He said, you can't miscalculate with your feet.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, yeah, exactly what you just said there. And I mean, I know there's coaches out there you look up to, yeah, and they say set your feet. Do you know what I'm saying? You know firsthand. There's coaches out there. I'm not going to say no names or whatever, but there is coaches out there that say come and plant your feet and let them go. Do you know what I mean? And they've had fighters that didn't plant their feet and they went all the way still.
Well, Tony Jeffries was another one who said he was convinced he fell for that pro game mystique about, you know, the pro style, and he said what he needed to do actually was be the same as he was as an amateur. And he said his old coach Dave Bin said to him, just condition your body to do what you did as an amateur for 12 rounds, and so you can be that mobile.
You can't move on your toes for 12 rounds. What a load of rubbish. I can move on my toes for 25 rounds. And I'll tell you what, if there's somebody in front of you that can punch, I could move for 55 rounds.
It's cardio.
Of course it is. It's cardio and conditioning. It's cardio and conditioning. And today, I want to say today, right, it's different. It's all changed. You need strength and conditioners. You need this, you need that. Let me explain something to you. In the olden days, right, and I'm in the olden days now even, right, I said boxing become... 1970s was great, 1980s was great, become weaker in the 90s, become even weaker in the 2000s, 2010 even weaker, 2020 even weaker. And I think that's life. I think that's how life's gone. Yeah, we've got some top fighters out there, but they stand out from the rest. Look at the 4 kings on the wall. They was all there at the same time. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? We don't get that anymore. We get one that stands out from the rest.
And you talk about strength and conditioning, and I go to most amateur clubs and I see what I see here, which is a good old-fashioned ton-up on the wall. It says 10 burpee jumps, 10 crunches, 10 sit-ups, 10 squat jumps, 10 press-ups, 10 dorsal raises, and so on.
I can tell you firsthand, right, I never hardly done anything, but I always done them circuits on that wall. And another thing I'll tell you, right, is this. You look at all these kids now with these 8-packs, right? They can't do 3 rounds. They're blowing after 3 rounds. Now, the biggest thing, important thing to train a fighter as amateur or professional is tell them to relax, enjoy it. Move, relax, enjoy. Relax, enjoy. That's all it is. And do you know what it is? I'll tell you why they try and confuse it. I'll tell you why they pull the whistles out and start blowing whistles and they start doing this and start doing that, because they've got no CV. Put them all up against the wall and say, what is your CV? What have you done? Now, I'm the first person, first hand to say, you ain't have got to have been a fighter to be a good coach. No. I'm not saying you've got to be. But, because there's plenty of good fighters that have been terrible coaches. But I'll tell you what I am going to say is all these new methods, don't mean nothing. Because when you watch the likes of Bivol train, you watch the likes of Canelo train, you watch the likes of Mayweather train. I've been in camp with these people, right? They're all old school people.
I looked some video footage the other day of Teofimo Lopez and Canelo doing this really light technical sparring, 1-2 hook, you block, slip, roll.
Yeah. That's all it is. That's all it is. They go from one extreme to the next. Though they either do conditioning sparring where they don't hit each other and it's not real, or, you know what I mean, I'm not saying them, but I'm just saying people in general. So what people do, all people are doing is getting knowledge and picking things up. But I'll tell you what you find though, Ben, with a lot of these camps and a lot of these YouTube videos and these Instagram videos. Told you, I've been in a gym with Mayweather. Mayweather throws a jab, a right hand like everybody else. And I always remember, I said it for years before he come out of it the other day and said, listen, all I throw is a jab and a right hand and a left hook. And an uppercut, you know what I mean?
He was a single shot picker in his welterweight days, for sure. But he must have practiced that flashy pad work a lot, otherwise he couldn't do it.
That was for TV.
Yeah, but he must have practiced it in the gym.
Yeah, but Anthony R can do that as well, but he's not Mayweather, is he?
No, he's not, it's fair to say. I mean, obviously, Tunde Ajayi, who's been Anthony's trainer pretty much right from the off. Yeah. He's a big believer in that Mayweather method and that Mayweather pad work. And I remember when I first saw Tunde doing it, remember he had a kid called Otto Saba?
Yeah.
And he was in the City Boxer gym on Newer Street back, it was about 2007. And I remember thinking, I was impressed and kind of a bit awed by it at the time, but because it was new and I'd never seen anything like that before. But ultimately, I don't think it really is either here or there, is it?
Well, Mayweather had never done that in his warm-up before he was going to have a spar or he was going to do something. Mayweather would do that when a camera would come in the gym, or, you know what I mean, or he wanted people to see, you know what I mean? And then I'll text a couple of people. When I was going through my hard times, I'll text a couple of people because I hated the world. I didn't care what anyone, you hate the world, you know what it's like. Yeah. And I turned around and said, listen, I said, why are you doing that Mayweather stuff, blah, blah. He said, don't worry about that. I've got loads in the locker. I said, you're useless. So what are you doing that for? Try and practice the basics. Throw a jab, throw a right hand like everybody else. And let me tell you something. The best fighters in the world are the basic fighters. The basic fighters.
Inoue does a lot of fundamentals when you look at him in the gym.
Usyk, Canelo, Mayweather, Crawford. Where do we want to stop? The only one that's really out there, really flash, Lemchenko. A little bit more. But he's a lighter weight, and do you know what I mean? But you look at the rest of them, Crawford. You know, we're talking pound for pound best. Do you know what I mean? They're basics.
Incidentally, I noticed Eddie Hearn just the other day said he wouldn't be surprised if Crawford never fights again.
Maybe not. He's had a lot of money out of it, hasn't he?
That's what he said. He said he's earned really good money from his last couple of fights. He's 37 years old, and he thinks he's not. He says he doesn't want to fight young tigers like Virgil Ortiz or Jaron Ennis. He fancies the Canelo fight if it comes, but Canelo doesn't seem so keen on that particular matchup. So, I mean, I think Eddie and Crawford have got a little bit of not bad blood, but a little bit of kind of static between them, which probably influences comments.
So, does Eddie think he shouldn't fight again?
He just said I wouldn't be surprised to see Crawford not fight again. He said he may think he's going to fight again. Yeah. He said, but he's very inactive, and I don't think he's motivated right now.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, you know, if Eddie's thinking that, you know, like he's 37 years old, like he's put them comments out there and all that sort of stuff. I mean, he's got Derek Chisora's number. I'd give him a ring and tell him to turn it in.
Yes, Gary Stretch was saying he felt very strongly after the Joyce fight that Derek should retire. Derek seems to be one of those fighters, and there are many of them, who really don't want that last bell to ring. I think he likes the money. I think he likes the validation, the attention, the sense of, you know, the sense of meaning it gives to your life. You understand that as well as anybody else. And Derek, I don't know if Derek is trying to get to a certain mark, like he's had 50 fights, or whether he just doesn't want to say goodbye.
Yeah, listen, I understand that, and it like I say, I struggled for them years when I retired, and I think it's very, very important. But I think it's for us as fighters. We call ourselves a family and we stick together. I think it's for us as fighters, is, you know, to help each other. I mean, I'll get regular phone calls from Ricky Hatton, regular message. I got a message from yesterday, just out of the blue. You know, how you doing, Pete? How's everything going? You all right, mate? Boom, boom, boom. And that, you know, and I think as fighters, whether people are going to listen or they're not going to listen, I do think people should stand up for each other. And another thing I want to say is, when is it wrong? When is it right? When is it wrong? Listen, Derek's had money out of the game now. Derek's done very well for himself. Derek's had a lot of hard fights. But let me tell you something. You don't want to be going to an old people's home. The geezer don't even know where he is, you know, and it'd be horrible to see that, you know.
And I saw that Dylan White was calling him out just on Twitter, whatever you want to call it, X. Yesterday, I think he said that let's do this, let's have the third fight, because Dylan's been left out in the cold after he failed the drug test before the Joshua rematch, and he's missed right out on all that kind of Saudi Riyadh season action, of course.
He's gone very quiet. Dylan, but you know, it's a bit like Conor Benn. Conor Benn's it's like, I don't know what's happening with him.
Neither do I. I saw he posted a picture today, once again on X, and it was with him and Tony Sims and some family and I think a young child. I think it's his. You're probably up to speed with the situation the same as I am initially, and it's getting on for 2 years, by the way, since that fight fell through with Eubank Jr. Initially, he was suspended by UKAD. Then the NADP, National Anti-Doping Panel, overruled that and lifted his suspension. UKAD, in cahoots with the British Boxing Board of Control, appealed that decision successfully. So then the suspension was upheld, and they still have yet to make a conclusive ruling on the situation. Meanwhile, he's had 2 fights in the States, which didn't particularly further his cause. I don't know how lucratively paid he was for those particular bouts, but he's basically been atrophying his entire career for this 2 years. And obviously, a lot of people are saying he'd have been better off just holding his hands up and taking a ban. But you know what? I'm starting to think maybe he genuinely is innocent, and that's why he's being so dogged about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, we're in a sticky situation here, you know, with boxing in general. You know, for me, it's all over it. You know, there's
ped juice, yeah,
it's all over boxing, and we all know that. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing: we know that, and we see people get popped left, right, and centre, and we see the same excuses and the same, you know, alibis and stuff. But have you ever seen it happening blatantly in front of you? In the business?
I'm not a grass.
No, all you have to say is yes. You don't have to say anything.
No. Do you know what? I ain't seen it in front of me. I ain't seen it in front of me. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, Big Larry, I used to work with when he was on the road, and I trained him also back in his Repton days. He admitted that he was basically a walk-in pharmacy, and he was cynically trying to gain an edge, and he said he was doing it because everybody else does it, and why not, and all the rest of it. And he said if it wasn't for the fact that all eyes were on him in that second phase of his career as a journeyman on the road, he said he would have still juiced and would have still done it, even though he was only picking up paydays. So he was remorseless and honest about the whole thing, but I've never known anybody else speak that way about it.
No, they're not going to. A lot of people ain't going to speak that way about it because they've made money out of it and things like that. But what you've got to realise is we've got to do one or the other here. You've either got to let people juice, yeah, which sounds crazy, yeah. You've got to either let people juice, or if they get caught juicing, yeah, it's very, very simple. 3-year ban? No, mate. Life ban, and anything you made out of boxing, take it off them, yeah, and then you can give it to people who are injured fighters. That's what I think. And I'll tell you what. I'm not going to. This could be a bold statement, but all these people that sit there and pray to God, yeah, God-fearing people and all that, right? If they're putting any needles in their arms to enhance their status for boxing, yeah, you're there to hurt the other man, right? So for me, they'll all burn in hell.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is particularly reprehensible in the context of boxing for the obvious reason everybody points out that it can have such dire consequences. So far, I don't believe we've really had a ring tragedy or a ring serious injury where anyone can prove that performance-enhancing drugs were a factor in that. But people always say you could kill someone in there.
After people retire, though, Ben, that's what the damage is, isn't it? A lot of damage comes when people retire, and after a few years, do you know what I mean? You know, they can't put a sentence together. And like I say, I believe I'll come away as a world champion out of boxing, and just health-wise, you know. now I can put a sentence together and I'm still sharp, and I really believe that's down to Steve Weiser. You know, like I say, I had more trainers than JD Sports. I'm not here to put people down or the time people give me and things like that, but every time I went back to that corner, I just thought, I wonder what Steve would be thinking now. I wonder what Steve would be thinking now.
Yeah.
I wonder what.
So nobody ever replaced him in your head, really, as a master.
No, and that's not no disrespect to anybody that gives me time. No disrespect whatsoever. And my methods, which I use now in boxing, I can see the improvement in the fighters I'm training. I'm training kids from nothing, walking off the street. Yeah. So my dream now is not for that door to open and ping, there's a ready-made meal for you, right? My dream is from a young kid, bringing him right through and becoming a world champion. That's my dream now.
And we were talking earlier on, when we were looking around at the Wall of Fame here, there's a picture of Lloyd Honeyghan, there's several pictures of Lloyd Honeyghan, former undisputed welterweight champion of the world, and you were making the point to me that he was a Fisher boy right from the start, all the way through the amateurs until he turned pro. So he wasn't a product of multiple gyms, he didn't shop around, he's a Fisher product.
I'll never forget, he's black and white through and through, isn't he? And literally black and white through and through. I'll never forget, even Honeyghan saying it to me. I remember even at Steve's funeral, love little story I'll tell you. But, you know, he's not a well man now and that. But we was, what do you call it? We was up here one day, and Lloyd had, well, long after he'd won the world titles, and he said, I always remember I come out in that round when I was fighting Don Curry. Yeah. And he goes, I threw the right hand underneath and the left hook over the top. And he goes, I always remember Steve telling me to do that. Yeah. And we was at the funeral.
That's a right hand to the body and the left hook over the top.
Yeah. People don't throw that anymore, do they?
Not so much.
No, don't throw that shot anymore. Or Steve used to lead with the left hook. Love leading with the left hook. Do you know what I mean? Lead with the left hook, but that would come back to the right hand. You're only touching the left hook, boom, come back with the right hand.
Yeah, because you get
a jab. That's a good shot.
Don't you find you get a left hook, then a jab? Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? Because you get these trainers who say, don't do this, don't ever do that, like don't slip inside a jab, which is nonsense. Yeah. And you're right, because I remember one of the Lynch brothers, Pat Cadell's trainers, when he got knocked out by Azuma Nelson, what happened was, you can picture this in your mind, we can't.
They trained McCracken as well, didn't they, Lynch brothers? They trained McCracken.
They did, yes. So anyway, Pat threw a kind of non-committal left hook at Azuma Nelson, who blocked it, then threw the left uppercut, counter. And the Lynch guy, one of them, whichever it was, said he led with a hook, which you should never do. But that's not necessarily true, is it?
Yeah, no, not at all. Everyone's expecting a jab to come and you can throw the hook. But do you know what it is? What you realise when you work in an amateur gym, right, and you're teaching fighters, I'm not getting them fit. Even 10-year-old, 12, I'm not getting them fit. But anyone can get someone fit. Yeah, it's teaching them the fundamentals, the ladders here, and not so much even the ladders. I think certain stuff is a little bit too over dramatic. I think just get your feet right, and work on them basics proper.
You see a lot of things on Instagram these days where people are doing these really complex foot drills. I saw even Gervonta Davis the other day, and they were going forward on the step, then they were stepping right over here, and it was like this, then that. You've seen it too. But when would you do that?
I don't know. And again, right, I was going to train a fighter who was working with Roy Jones, right? I said, let me tell you something. Roy Jones was a great fighter, but I said he trains fighters like Tom Jones, right? And that's the truth.
What you said, like Roy Jones or Tom Jones?
No, he trains them that look like Tom Jones, right?
Instead of turning out like Roy Jones, they end up more like Tom Jones.
Because what he's doing is he's trying to give them what he had. He's trying to give them what he had. Listen, he had magic, Unless you can inject that magic into that person, you're not going to bring that out of them.
Harold Bomber Graham does that when he coaches people, and he had the strangest style, and he teaches everybody to box like that.
I mean, the beauty of coming back to the amateurs, right, is there's all these different styles. So for me, I'm here learning every day as well, because I'm working with different styles. Not only that, Ben, I'm not being big-headed or anything, but every time I went away sparring with world-class fighters, Peter, wouldn't you be like so-and-so today? Wouldn't you be like so-and-so today?
You were like a chameleon.
Yeah. So I had to, and I was thinking, I just want to get that few quid at the end of the week, so I'm going to do it. Sometimes you had to work it out the hard way, but like I say with these kids, so what you got to do is, you give the kids the fundamentals, but they all find their own styles. And once they find their own styles, you don't try and mould them into your style. And I'm seeing it now, mark my words, I'm seeing it now with certain coaches. They've got all these microwave meals. Mark my words, they're all been trained the same way. people will start working their styles out soon. So what we find in today's day and age, is they all go through little eras where that coach is on top, he's got all them fighters, this coach is on top, who knows on top of the moment.
In the amateurs and the pros, yeah?
But in the pros more. The pros more. But you know who's on top at the moment. But guess what? Because all these ready-made meals, they're all Marks and Spencer's ready-made meals. They're not Lidl's. Yeah. When people get Lidl's ready-made meals, you're in trouble a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. For anybody who doesn't understand that analogy, Peter is talking about the quality of fighter they have to work with in the first place, who's already been built by several years of coaching in amateur clubs and wherever else they've been.
And the problem is, if you work with the Lidl's microwave meals, you're going to be working with them for the rest of your life.
I think it really is that simple. If you give somebody a good fighter to work with, I mean, I don't deny that the wrong trainer could perhaps ruin or fail to maximise a great talent.
It takes a long time to ruin him, though. A good fighter, it'll take a long time to ruin him, and people won't really realise it, that he's ruining that fighter.
But people used to talk about Enzo Calzaghe, and I think it was David Hay said Mr. Bean could have trained Joe Calzaghe to the success that he had.
Yeah, Mr. B, maybe you could have trained Joe Calzaghe. We've got to see what come up after that as well. We had Gavin Rees, we had Enzo Maccarinelli, you know what I mean?
He actually produced a whole bunch of world champions in a tiny area.
Seven of them.
In a tiny area of Wales.
At one time.
So we rate Enzo.
100%. Now listen, let me just tell you something. He's took his boy from a kid to a world champion. Now, how many coaches can say they've done that? Now, for me, that is a feat.
Yeah.
That's a feat. That's a teacher. That's a teacher. Nah. Oh, he wrapped his hands wrong. But listen, he's not an hand wrapper, is he?
And do you know what? He was old school as hell. He would say, they can eat what they like as long as they run it off. He said, never mind skipping, I've got a bloody life. I don't want to take 20 minutes at the start of the workout. He says, if you want to warm up, run up the fucking steps.
Listen, I've been up in Calzaghe and seen that firsthand, right? Yeah. He'd make you tired before you even started training. But then he'd say, and then remember, I was blessed to spend time around Goody Patronelli. Goody Patronelli, exactly the same. I sat there with him. I said, what was so good about Marvin Hagler? He said, nothing different to what you do. It's just he trains so hard. So hard. Running hard nail boots on sand. Do 6 mile, 8 mile, and then come in and spar. Because he'd spar when he's tired, so he made mistakes. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you imagine, right, let's be realistic here. Now my career's all flashed behind me. Now, my experiences of my career, what do I really remember out of my fights? Not much at all. So what are you really going to give back to kids if you don't remember a lot about what your own fights? What I do remember those training camps. I remember all the sparring camps and that. Because I'd spar Ben, and I'd sit there afterwards, and I'd watch whoever sparring, or whatever, or if the manager's doing this and the manager's doing that. So I picked up all that knowledge. You get what I mean? I watched all that knowledge, and all I want to do, and that's what I said about becoming like an advisor more, because all I want to do is pass my knowledge on to other people and help other people. But we all know in this game how, you say too much or you've got too much knowledge, you're getting pushed to the back of the queue. So for me, I've got to do it the hard way, like I did when I fought myself, and bring kids to the top. Yeah,
it's a strange thing, the professional boxing industry, because I wouldn't say it's a closed shop. I think it used to be in days gone by. You talk about the cartel, and Mickey Duff and Terry Lawless et al. But it's not a closed shop because you get charlatans and cowboys who seem to steam straight into it. But it is still an in club, isn't it? It's not a closed shop, but an in clique.
You're talking about charlatans and cowboys, whatever you want to call them, that steam straight into it. The reason why they steam straight into it, because they've got no knowledge whatsoever, and a lot of the people that run boxing ain't got that much knowledge themselves, so they don't want intelligent, clever people in it. So when we sit there, i.e., and we talk about Simon Jordan, people go, he's well intelligent, Simon Jordan. It don't take much intelligence to realise what is running boxing, does it?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned him, because I'd like to finish on that, if we may. That there was an interview on TalkSport this week with Simon Jordan, the other guy who's less the antagonist, more the straight man, Jim. I can't remember his surname. Jim White, and Eddie Hearn. Yeah. And Simon Jordan said to him, and I know there's a little bit of electricity between the two. He said, if Turki Alalshikh and the Saudi outfit wanted to turn your lights out and cut you and Frank Warren out of the equation, they could do that. He said, there's nothing you do that couldn't be acquired knowledge in a reasonable duration of time He said, whether there's any benefit in doing that, I don't know, and I'm not saying they will do. He said, but they could do it. They could take your fighters once they're out of contract, and they could do it themselves without you. They've already put fights together that you couldn't make for 10 years by your own admission. And he basically suggested to Eddie, oh, all right, you're dancing to his tune right now, and so is Frank, but what does he need you for?
To me, just puppets on a string.
Yeah.
You know, maybe just puppets on a string, and
because how much of it is experience and knowledge? When the money seems to be vastly more important. If we've seen Fury USYK made, and we've seen that blockbuster bill starting with the Day of Reckoning, was it called? I think it was called the Day of Reckoning, the one last Christmas, that had Joshua versus Ngannou on it, and
that took some knowledge to make, yeah.
But the money seems to be much more important than anything else.
Of course it is. But you know and I know, Ben. You go to a boxing show. Right, we know what's wrong with professional boxing, right? Grassroots boxing is totally different, you know.
I'm just going to correct myself, by the way, because somebody might do in the comments. That was actually Joshua Wallin, wasn't it, the Day of Reckoning? That was Joshua versus Otto Wallin, first of all.
Who trained Wallin before that?
I'm not sure because, I mean, obviously, Wallin's reputation was forged off the basis of giving Fury a lot of trouble, you know, aided and abetted by the bad cut. But I just wanted to correct myself. Joshua Ngannou didn't happen till a little while after that. The Day of Reckoning card was actually that you had Wilder and Parker on it, and you had Joshua and Wallin. But it feels like he's been around a long time already, even though it's a relative flash in the pan phenomenon.
Yeah. Money is knowledge, and money is power, isn't it? You know, you can get money, you can get knowledge with it, and money you can get power. You've got power, so he can do what he wants. Because if he wants to give me a little ring, Turki Alalshikh, I'll go out and I'll give him a little bit of knowledge, and I'll tell him, listen, 50-50 fights, you know, 5v5, put the best five. Be the best five. Do you know what I mean? Let's be real here.
I mean, fight fans and insiders seem divided right now on whether he ultimately represents a good thing or not. His value base seems pretty cool up to now, that he likes big fights. He's obviously got a massive checkbook which can facilitate big fights. He doesn't like lots of world champions and the plethora of belts around. He doesn't like fighters avoiding fighters. I mean, he wants to roll the dice with these guys.
Yeah, I think the best thing he's done. It's good for boxing. Come on, let's be honest. We've got Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren working together. Yeah, they're trying to unify boxing. Yeah, right. You know, we're not getting so much. I keep promoting them. Lidl's shows. I love Lidl's. I go there all the time.
Sponsorship opportunity.
Yeah, we're not getting so much Lidl shows. We're getting arid shows to a degree. Do you know what I mean? There's still a little bit of work that needs doing within the sport, in my opinion. We're behind, aren't we? We're still behind other sports, aren't we? But he is bringing it to the forefront. There's no doubt.
Well, the problem for me is nowhere but in boxing, professional boxing, do you find this amount of disingenuousness about, like Eddie is already talking about the historical achievement of Anthony Joshua on the verge of becoming a three-time world heavyweight champion. He will not be a three-time world heavyweight champion if he beats Dubois, who isn't a reigning heavyweight champion as it is, and it's just complete utter nonsense. We know who the champion is. The title was unified beyond any doubt whatsoever back in May, and that is the end of it. You can't just have a guy donate a belt to you just to give you a little bit of stardust. But the fans have been so broken down and brainwashed over the years that they accept it.
I mean, let's sit here. Let's you know, I'm not really a history man. I know you are, right? But there's history in this gym, so we've got to sit here and respect the history in this gym. Let me tell you something. Them four. Let's take them four out of the equation.
Yeah.
Agler, Rans, Leonard and Duran.
Yeah.
Lloyd Hannigan. They're still talking about his win.
Yeah.
Bigger. Who won the title in 2010? I don't have a clue.
We were struggling then to remember who fought on the card in December. Yeah. We were actually struggling a little bit while then.
Yeah, because you had Wallin, you had Ngannou, right? Now I'm going to put another statement out here now. Another statement. Do you know what? I thought Joshua. You know, he has definitely. He's relaxing more. Improvement-wise, I'm not saying he's improved because Joshua's Joshua. He won a gold medal. Let's be real in the Olympic Games, right? Daniel Dubois boxed for this gym. I've got a big feeling in my heart now that Daniel Dubois is going to knock Joshua out in about 5 or 6 rounds, right? And I'll tell you what I look on that. What you've just said there, who did he box last year? Oh yeah, Wallin, right? He's boxed Wallin and he's boxed Ngannou. Now, Dubois boxed Usyk, right? He's boxed Miller, and he's boxed Hrgovic. 3 good performances, in my opinion.
Yes, I sometimes wonder if the whole reinvention of Anthony Joshua is a little bit kind of exaggerated, based, like you say, on an impressive performance against a rather passive Wallin.
Is it a lucky man that's reinvented him? That's the problem. Is it a lucky man? Is it real, or is it just another, so like a sideshow to what he is? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and as far as Ngannou goes, Fury ought to have done that to him also, but there's reasons why Fury didn't. I mean, stylistic, probably preparation and other things.
I'll use an example, right? Whether Tyson liked it or not. I text Tyson 2 months before the what's it called fight, Usyk fight, and I said, listen, I don't think you should take it, that fight. Boom, and I told him what I thought, right?
You told him you don't believe he should take the Usyk fight?
Yeah, Usyk fight, yeah. I think he should retire. He should retire. And I know it sounds crazy, but it reminds me of, remember when Ricky Hatton come back against the...
Senchenko.
Yeah, Senchenko. Now, that geezer wouldn't have laced his boots up, would he have? Let's be real, if it was a few years before.
But Usyk always would have been competitive, right?
Yeah. But like I say, I think that could be the second fight with Fury and Usyk.
You feel that a bit like when John Conte gave Matthew Saad Muhammad a hell of a fight in 1979, but when the rematch came around in 1980, Saad Muhammad walked through him. Yeah. That was the one last gasp he had.
Yeah. I think we all see. Let's take everything away from this. We all see the Ngannou fight. Fury was a dumb fighter, in my opinion. Yeah. Listen, if Fury would have fought Usyk, Klitschko time.
2015.
I still think he was on the decline with the Wilder fights. Yep. I predicted all them fights. All 3 of them fights I predicted and got them all bang on the spot.
It's definitely miles on the clock, isn't it?
Yeah,
all of them.
Without a doubt. And look, Tyson's my friend. We're good friends. I hope we're good friends. We go back years.
Yeah.
And I just think of his health. Because he's a brave, strong, intelligent man.
So you fancy Usyk to win the rematch, and you'd be more comfortable if Tyson wasn't would retire now?
I'd like him to walk away before the first Usyk fight, really. Do you know what I mean? Because do they give him their credit then after the second Usyk loss? If he loses against Usyk, I hope he wins the fight. But
you're not optimistic.
No, not at all. I just think I noticed a few things in there. I thought his balance had gone. He was leaning over his front foot when Tyson used to sit on his back foot. His legs are gone. He can't keep him going for 3 rounds, like for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't know whether you can say it's this fault, it's that fault, it's this fault. Listen, one thing I know about Tyson, right? Whether he's got weight on him or not, Tyson always trained hard. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I know he might not be 100% focused, but he always trained hard. And I don't think that was going to make his legacy any better beating Usyk at the same time. I think he could have got away with it.
Would it not make it one hell of an icing on the cake of a legacy if he beats Usyk and becomes, well, he won't be undisputed technically, but it will be the same thing.
Yeah.
Would that not be a big deal?
Without a doubt. And then we get the Joshua fight. But I just don't think. Look, it's written in the stars, isn't it? We always find it in boxing. You know how it works with Mayweather and Pacquiao and all that. It's always written in the stars. So he's going to spoil the party, isn't he? Dubois on the 21st.
Well, you heard it here first. I'm sure, Peter, we could stay here all day talking boxing. Well, the thing is, we do on the phone, in person, whatever. But it's great to come down here to this. It's a wicked gym, Fisher. I've never been here before. Of all the iconic London gyms, I've been to the Repton. Obviously, I spent a lot of time there. Been to the Fitzroy Lodge. Been to the Lynn. This is the Fab Four, right? That's the Fab Four right there. Is Repton, Fisher, Lynn, and the Lodge. Yeah. And this is the missing piece. And I thank you for the invitation. And it's always great to cheer it up.
Well, I called them the Three Kings. Mick Carney, Steve Weiser, and Tony Burns. We lost them. Yeah. We've still got a couple flying. We've got Mick Delaney, who's a great coach.
Dale Youth, James DeGale, George Groves, etc.
Yeah, and we still got him flying, and a couple of others. Steve. I used to train DeGale as well. Steve Newlands. He's not.
Yeah,
well.
He was from Dale Youth as well.
He's not well at the moment, so I want to send my best of luck out to Steve Newlands. And I would like to say before I go, anyone who wants to come down and do a bit of boxing down the Fisher is always welcome in Bermondsey. And we've got we've got a fighter, Sasha Ricky, she's going to European Games, and we've got another fighter, Radis from Albania, he's going to European Games as well. So from a club I've been back at a year, it's flying from strength to strength.
Best of luck with it, and this won't be my last visit, I assure you of that.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Cheers.
Nice one.